If Etsy has felt like a bit of a roller coaster recently, if your stats are all over the place, if it feels a little bit like your traffic's wonky, your revenue's a bit funny, especially in the last week or so, then know that you are not alone and there are so many of us seeing this, and there is a lot going on, I believe, behind the scenes on the platform that is leading to this. And I want to talk about some of that today and talk about how I am approaching this in my own shop too. Now, before I do that, just excuse all of the boxes in the background. I am moving in a couple of days, so this will not be the perfect polished video. I am going to probably fall over my words a few times like I normally do because I won't be properly editing this video, but I really wanted to get this out there because I think it is so important that we're talking about this and that you don't feel alone if you are seeing this yourself. So for me personally, I have a top 0.6% Etsy shop. I am currently seeing a complete drop in sales. So I have been averaging, the same kind of traffic, a little bit lower traffic than this time last year, but on the whole, something around the same. Nothing, no red flags, no big dips, nothing like that. The trend is really similar. But what I noticed the last 7 days is my revenue and sales trend has dropped off a cliff entirely. Something has changed, and since the 18th of February, something changed on that day that has turned into my shop basically not converting at all. Now, this weekend, I saw sellers reporting things like customers not being able to check out, customers messaging saying they weren't able to check out, issues and error messages on the site. So I do think that there is bugs that are being fixed in the system, but I also think that something has shifted in the algorithm, whether that means that we are getting less qualified traffic, whether that means that checkout providers weren't working. I'm not 100% sure. I have just had a little bit of a fruity conversation with an Etsy representative because I am getting a little bit frustrated by the generic just add your attributes and that will fix everything advice, because yes, we know how to set up a listing that sells, we know how to set up a listing that converts, we understand all of that. This is not a traffic issue, this is a conversion issue, and if you haven't changed anything on your listings to mean that they start converting lower, Etsy has changed something in the background and I want to know what it is. So while I am waiting for them to come back to me on that, because I have been referred to a supervisor, I am hoping to get some answers that I will share ASAP. But right now I really just wanted to touch on the other side of this, the really emotional side of this, because I know what it feels like when you are absolutely drained by the shifts in the algorithm. I know how, firsthand right now, how scary it feels when you are at the mercy of the algorithm and your business can just feel like it's going to kind of fail overnight. Now, one thing I want to be really clear on, yes, it is not ideal that the last 7 days of my sales have been like zero pretty much. I would really like to have made sales in those days. I would like to have kept topping my accounts up and topping my sales up and kept things ticking over. Now, I am kind of a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. I am moving on Thursday, so it's probably for the best that my sales have been slimming on over the last week, but we don't want that to carry on long term. But the other side of this is I am actually not worried that it's going to carry on long term, because generally I find that changes happen so frequently on Etsy that all of a sudden it will be switched back on and things will start to work again. And if not, I absolutely know how to turn my business into something that can bring in sales either outside of Etsy or on Etsy itself. So whether that is listing new listings, whether that is starting to build my brand outside of Etsy and starting to promote things outside of Etsy and bringing in sales elsewhere, this is what I have been doing in the background. I have been building a brand that brings in traffic for me, because I will not be a slave to the algorithm, right? And I don't want you to be either. The thing is, algorithms will always shift, platforms will always change, there will always be things like that. How many times have you got on Instagram one morning and found that everything has shifted in the algorithm, everything you're seeing isn't the content you're used to seeing, and nobody's seeing your posts anymore? How many times have you seen this happen on TikTok? How many times have you been locked out of your Facebook account? And I had it the other week where they were like, we're deactivating all of your profiles on socials. Like, it happens, right? Luckily, I got them back, but it does happen. And so the best thing that we can do is future-proof our businesses and not rely entirely on Etsy. Now, I have said this for years, Etsy is an amazing platform. I am still not debating that, right? I am still loving Etsy. I will still continue to sell on Etsy. Etsy is a built-in traffic source of customers. Their customers are there, they're hot, they're ready to buy, and we can optimize our listings to be found by them. What I won't be doing is relying 100% on Etsy for my sales, and I will not be, hoping for the best and kind of twiddling my thumbs if things go wrong in the future, because I'm building out ecosystems outside of Etsy too. So the best way out of this platform panic is to build a brand. So that is not just a font or a color palette or a logo or something like that, but your brand is how people recognize you, how people come to trust you and like you and come back to you time and time again, and to keep buying from you and become repeat, loyal, amazing customers. And when people remember you and people, keep coming back to you and loving you, your platform stops having as much power over your income, which is what we all want, right? And it's what I'm building towards this year, and it's what I'm also teaching this year. I'm already teaching it inside the Seller Society, where I'm helping other small business owners just like you and I build their brands and get their visibility outside of Etsy too. This is not about ditching Etsy altogether. This is about really starting to solidify our brands and solidifying our presence outside of Etsy, so that these changes are just hiccups and not, completely soul crushing, soul destroying, business ending issues that we face. So your brand is really, really simple to build. You want to start thinking about who you made your business for, so who you create your products for, who your perfect person is, your dream customer, what you stand for, what you want to be known for, what is really important to you and makes you different from your competitors and different from people that are doing similar things to you, and what your product serves and why your products exist beyond just being a product, right? So why it kind of solves problems for your customers, creates desire for your customers, what it does to your customers and how it fits into their lives and makes their lives different. All of that in a nutshell is your brand. Yes, you have your brand personality, your colours, your fonts and things like that. They are important down the line, but the core foundations of your brand are what you need in place to make the next steps easier. And the next steps are you choose one other visibility platform. Now, I see Etsy as a visibility platform with the built-in bonus that it is also a sales platform, but I also encourage you to choose another visibility platform that can be a social media channel. It can be Instagram, TikTok, it can be YouTube, it can be Pinterest, it can be using Facebook ads, but just some way that people can find out that you exist outside of Etsy and outside of the algorithm, right? So that goal is that discoverability outside of Etsy, so that people start to, find out that you exist, basically. And then you want to build rapport with those people with really simple content. Now, I know that this can sound scary if you are not used to creating content, or if you don't love creating content, or if you don't love social media, but it's really simple, and it's a lot simpler than people are making out. And I've been talking about this a lot more recently because I think that the gurus and I think that the, people that are honestly trying to help you to understand like content buckets and what to post and things like that, they are genuinely trying to help. But I also think that if you've struggled with that and you've got stuck with that and you found it confusing, it's probably because it's overcomplicating what you actually need to do. The only things that your content needs to do is 3 things. It needs to get the attention of the right customer. That's that visibility piece. It needs to attract the right customer. So think about it like a bit of a dating analogy. Attention is seeing you across the bar. Attraction is like getting to know you, having a conversation, a little bit of flirting maybe. And then the next stage is action, and that is to take the next action in your step. And so in that dating analogy, that might be asking you on a second date, or it might be asking you to marry them, right? Depending on how far down in the journey you are. And your content just needs to funnel people through those 3 phases, because what most people mistake when they are creating their content is they think that one piece of content is going to find the perfect person, tell them this about this amazing product, and sell it to them there and then. And sometimes we get unicorn customers and unicorn content that does that, but for the most part, we need to take people on a journey with our business. So think about your content as a bucket that you are just filling up and filling up and filling up, and at the bottom of the bucket is this funnel into your Etsy shop or your website or wherever it is where people are starting to buy, but you need to just keep putting people in at the top, right, and filtering them through into that purchase point. Okay, that is the marketing funnel dumbed down and in a very, very simple explanation. So this is what all your content needs to do. Those 3 things that your content needs to do. And then at that point, when you are encouraging that action outside of Etsy, you want to start growing real independence by growing like an email list, maybe using freebies or VIP exclusives or something like that to grow your list and to get people into your world that side. Because the thing is, if all of the platforms shut down tomorrow, that email list is yours, right? You can download it, you can print it out, you can handwrite your email addresses down, as long as you are storing them securely, of course, but you can have your email list forever and always, right? It's not at the mercy of an algorithm. Most people who are actually seeing your signed up to your emails are seeing it. So huge proportion of the people who are signed up to your emails see your emails, and then a proportion of that going on to open them and click them, etc., etc. And there's lots of things we can do to make sure we optimize that. But if you think about it compared to like Etsy or Instagram or somewhere where people might see your content, it's fleeting, and then they forget to save it or follow you or like it or whatever, and then it disappears and they never see you again. Or even if people have followed you and then they don't see anything from you for months because of the way the algorithm works, your email list solves that, right? So that is the funnel flow. We get your brand foundations sorted, we find a visibility channel that we can attract people in, and then we funnel people through that bucket into a sales platform. And then at that point also we start to build out a list outside of Etsy that we can then sell to down the line. And that absolutely changes everything in your business. You get more consistency in your sales, you get less panic when your Etsy, when Etsy changes something or when an algorithm shifts, and it actually feels like you're building a real business and not just something that's really kind of dependent on the algorithm and could be fleeting because we don't actually know what's going to change next, right? So then Etsy becomes just a part of your ecosystem. It's not your entire business. And that is what I want for you. That is what I am building for myself, or I have built for myself. And that is what I want to teach going forward, because I feel really, really strongly that while I want to stress this, I really do want to stress this, I absolutely still love Etsy. I will still be selling on Etsy. I will still be encouraging people to sell on Etsy. I think it is a fantastic platform, and I think it is going in the right direction. I think it is getting better and getting closer and back to towards where, you know, it once was, when it was an amazing, incredible platform for people to build businesses on. I do think it is too temperamental and it's too risky to entirely put all of your eggs in the Etsy basket in 2026. I think that it is a much more sensible business decision to grow your ecosystem, to grow your business outside of Etsy, to have multiple levers that you can pull, so that when things are going slow over here, you know, you can have a great week over here because you've set everything up in place there. And that's exactly what I'll be sharing more of going forward. It's what I have done for years in my marketing career, so I know how to do this stuff, I know how this stuff works, and I am really, really just excited to be sharing more of this with you. And so watch out for more videos. When I have moved house, I will hopefully in the next video be in a different background, but probably still some boxes, because I imagine it's going to be a long process. But that will absolutely be next on my agenda, to start sharing with you a lot more about this. Just a reminder that it's not about ditching Etsy, it's about building a business that feels safe, it feels sustainable, and it feels actually yours. So if that is something that you're interested in, that is something that you want to do going forward, make sure you subscribe and you follow along for what is next to come. And I will see you later.